This is a paid comparison review of the Emeet S800 4K webcam against the Emeet C960, which is capable of 1080p. Getting the worst case scenario of being in a completely dark room out of the way, we have just the glow from our laptop screen and we can't be seen at all on the S800, but we can be seen on the C960, but with a huge amount of noise to the image, but at least you can see us. Switching on a larger monitor, and now we can be seen on the S800. Now don't be concerned about us looking very blue. The monitor has the old trusty Windows desktop wallpaper on display, which is why we're looking so blue. So the same with any webcam, lighting is going to be important, with natural light coming in through the window, and this is a big improvement on both, which is to be expected. I'm impressed with how well the S800's auto exposure is performing, by preventing most of the white on the side of our face where the sun is coming in from outside, and the image quality does look much superior. The C960 on the other hand does really struggle with the exposure, with us looking very washed out. Manually configuring the exposure in OBS is possible, and this does help a little, but the S800 is the clear winner in this test. The S800 can drop its resolution from 4K down to 1080p, and this will allow you to get 60 frames per second, which is double that the C960 is capable. So if getting smoother movement on your calls or streams is the priority, then the S800 is the one you would need. With a couple of ring lights in front of us, and the S800 once again is delivering a really good looking crisp image. It might be a little too crisp to be honest, as I think it may be flickering a little on my beard, unless it's just my eyes playing tricks on me, but it's handling the exposure amazingly well again. The C960 on the other hand is struggling with the exposure, with us looking very washed out. Now once again you can manually configure the exposure in OBS, or if you can adjust the brightness of your ring lights, then this works very well, and we can remove a lot of that white glow. We do get noise in the background on the C960, so the flickering will be apparent. We do get some minimal noise on the S800, but it does look much better. Turning on our backlights and still using the ring lights in front, and the S800 is handling this really well, and we still get that nice crisp image from it. The backlights seem to help the C960 a little with the auto exposure, but we are still a little washed out on our face. What I do notice is that the light in the background looks blurry on the C960, whereas the S800 is more true to life, and you can see each of the individual lights, rather than it looking like one huge light, which the C960 shows. The image does look quite soft on the C960, with us not looking as though we are quite in focus, but the S800 just looks a million times better. The C960 has a fixed focus lens, which means that objects will become blurry if you come any closer than around 8 inches or so away, whereas the S800 has an autofocus lens which performs very quickly at bringing objects into focus. You can get slightly closer with the S800, but ideally you still want to be around 8 inches or so away for the best image quality. Removing a green screen in OBS, and they both removed it fine, apart from towards the bottom, but this has more to do with my lighting setup and my green screen being very close to me. Image quality wise, the S800 blows the C960 out of the water with a much better image. This is a microphone test of the Emeet C960 webcam. This is the kind of audio you can expect from the inbuilt microphone. This is a microphone test of the Emeet S800 webcam. This is the kind of audio you can expect from the inbuilt microphones. You can install the Emeetlink software, and this allows you to get access to manual configuration for both webcams. The C960 will give you basic options for changing the brightness, contrast, sharpness, saturation and the white balance, whereas the S800 gives you much more to play with, where you can enable or disable noise reduction for the inbuilt mic, add grid lines if you really want to fine tune where you are positioned on camera. There's a metering option which changes the light into your scene. There are 4 of these available, so pause the video here if you want to know which each of these do. We can set a central area of focus, which will put whatever is closest to the lens in focus. We can toggle this to the face focus mode, which will put your face in focus even if an object is closer towards that lens of the S800. You can manually configure this focus if you want to, closing that field of view up from its widest 73 degrees all the way down to 40 degrees. If you want to prevent much of your background from being on display, there will be a very slight loss in image quality the more that you zoom in. HDR can be enabled, but this will only work in the 30 frames per second mode. Enabling this did make a significant change to the lighting, and whilst it did a great job with the light behind us, it does produce a much softer image when it is being used, so you will lose details on your face, but it is a decent option if you are struggling with a lot of light when you're on camera. Preset filters can be selected from the drop down to change the way your image looks, or you can customise your own by adjusting the sliders, which is the same options as the C960 but with a few additional ones thrown in there too. A stick-on privacy cover is available on the C960, whereas the S800 has an inbuilt one. The USB cable is inbuilt on the C960 and this is non-removable, but you can remove the cable on the S800, which is USB-C, and both connect to your computer using USB-A. Both can be tilted forwards, with the S800 getting around 45 degrees of tilt and the C960 getting a full 90 degrees. The S800 can turn either way around 45 degrees, but the C960 doesn't move left or right at all. Both are tripod mountable, and when you attach it to your screen, the S800 does stick out further on the back compared to the C960.